to speak this morning about patience and how it is a support for letting go. You know, I personally I was not born, my personality structure was not born with patience. I, I was bright and liked to do things, incredibly curious and inquisitive. And for me, life was just a series of adventures and problem solving. And if there was something that I was struggling with, there would always be a problem, but I could figure out a way to resolve it. And so patience was not something that I really had much experience with. When I went into Australia, when I went to the bush of Australia, I learned about patience in a way that my brothers and sisters in the monastery weren't able to help teach me. They tried, but I wasn't a very good learner, so I didn't learn from them. But in the bush, I did get it. I was living in Australia in a little hut in a national park, and the hot season was very, very hot, very, very hot. And the whole property didn't have running water and didn't have electricity. We had battery-operated, we had some battery-operated lights, but we didn't have any mains electricity. So there was nothing like a fan, and there was no, we didn't have fans. And the only time we could have a shower was when we went to the bathhouse. So the hot season was, I don't know, 110 or 115 degrees Fahrenheit. It was incredibly hot. And there was no real way where we could get relief from it. There was no, and in that heat, and that incredible heat, and the inability to come up with a creative solution to fix it, is where I began to get some sense of what patience was about, you know? This quality just to bear with and endure something, and there's no amount of bright fixing or problem solving that's going to be able to come up with an alternative way of responding to it. It's the ability to just weather something as best as one can and wait until the conditions would change. Now, one of the things that this helps us let go is the restless, self-driven determination that somehow I'm in control and can fix things. You know, if it were just up to me, I'd be able to sort it all out. So as a quality, patience is not about me being smart, clever, and having alternative strategies. Patience is a quality of being able to weather what is going on until it shifts. Now, one of the stories about this that I really loved was the story of Ajahn Chah. So Ajahn Chah, this great forest meditation master in Thailand, with his monks, had a policy that people were welcome to come to the meditation hall whenever they wanted, but they weren't allowed to leave until he dismissed them. And so on the full moon meditation vigils, the monks would come and begin the meditation, and it was customary for them to stay all night. And in Thailand, particularly with the Ajahn Chah forest monks, they had a tremendous sense of being very determined and committed to the path of practice. And Ajahn Chah was really gifted at being able to drive home points in places where people were most vulnerable. So this was a group of monks who had a strong group identity of being determined, of being committed, of being excellent monks. So one time, the full moon meditation vigil had arrived, and all the monks were there sitting, because once they sat there, they had to sit there until they were dismissed. And Ajahn Chah was speaking to one of the village people. And they were talking and talking and talking and talking and talking, and they were talking about all kinds of stuff that monks don't normally talk about. They were talking about, what animals who had, and who was dating who, and which animals were pregnant, and which people were having babies, and all kinds of stuff that would normally be considered gossip. And the monks were absolutely frustrated, absolutely furious. This was a serious practice. They were serious monks. They were going to meditate, and they were going to do their practice, and Ajahn Chah was disturbing them with this ridiculous gossipy talk. And so he was just talking and talking and talking and talking and talking in the middle of the meditation hall with this village man about all this stuff that normally is just useless prattle, just nonsense, just gossip. And every once in a while, he would check in at the monks and see how they were doing. How frustrated were they? How activated were they? Did they get it, that the path was about being present with what is? And in this situation, there was nothing that they are going to be able to do to make it different. He wasn't going to stop talking. They couldn't get up and go away. And could they get it, that as a path of patience, what was needed was to be with what was, wake up to what was, to release their own resistance to the way things were, and to just be with it. They couldn't shift it. They couldn't change it. They couldn't make it be the way they wanted it to be. They couldn't make the things that they didn't want go away. That the only thing that they could do was to accept the way that it was and to be with it. So one of the things about a really excellent forest meditation master, or any meditation master, is that they are prepared to deal with a tremendous amount of agitation and difficult feeling when they are confident that it will support learning something that's really important. Now, of course, the shadow of this is that if there's any ego investment at all in that meditation master, you've got something entirely different. And of course, they might be very wise and very awake, and sometimes also not be really fully cognizant of the impact of what they're doing. So even though I love this story, I also share it with some caveats that there are some areas that are helpful to take care with it.